So like I do with all the movies I see that are based off of a novel, I'm gonna be judging it on its own merit and not see if it's a fair or accurate adaptation from its source material, because I've always been a firm believer that what works in a book or a comic book or any other medium may not translate well to the screen. So it's unfair to the movie to judge it like, well, the book didn't do it this way. And mainly because I didn't read this book when I was younger, so I'm gonna have to judge it on a film anyways. And with that being said, I will say that the world being presented in this film is very imaginative, and I can see why people will find it intriguing. And the movie itself is visually stunning for the most part. Sometimes the visuals don't work as well, but when they do, they work really well, and the colors are just very vibrant. But unfortunately, for me, that's where the intrigue kind of ends. I was no more interested in sitting through this movie than I was seeing it to begin with. I mean, there's several flaws that just bring it down for me. I mean, for one, the visual effects are, in my opinion, like subpar. Just things as simple as like making a character seem 2 stories tall was just not convincing. And there's several green screen shots in this movie that just look so obvious and just poorly done, in my opinion. The acting isn't the best in this film either. I mean, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and Mindy Kaling do the best they can with what they're given, but they're given so little to do in this film. Storm Reid does a pretty decent job in this film with the emotional scenes, but when it comes to being amazed at what's happening in this universe and what's going on in front of her, she kind of lacked in that element, and it created a real disconnect between me and the story, because if your lead character isn't amazed at what's happening in front of her, I'm not going to give a crap about what's going on in this story, and that's where her performance really lacked for me. But for me, where this movie really hurt me the most performance-wise was the young actor that plays the lead's younger brother. I can't remember his name for the life of me right now. And I do hold my own sort of bias towards child actors, and one of the cliche things you hear all the time in filmmaking is don't work with animals and don't work with children, and this kid's kind of like the perfect example of that. Because in my opinion, if a movie's gonna rely so heavily on a child's performance, they need to be just phenomenal for it to work, and this kid was just not good in this movie. But for me, where this film falters the most is the setup of this world. I just didn't quite understand the limitations or the rules of this universe, and the explanations were just kind of glossed over, and I felt lost most of the time. Like I sat down in like the middle of the movie and just completely missed the first act, and for the most part I was just bored the entire time, and I didn't care about the characters or the story, and that's really apparent in the first like 20 minutes of this film, where the lead character is just dealing with like the disappearance of her father, and nobody outside of her immediate circle really empathizes with her. And for me, that just felt like, if nobody else cares, then why should I? And when all is said and done and they come back from this adventure, I felt like they didn't change much. They acted and looked exactly the same. And this might be nitpicking at this point, but there's several times where these characters get thrown across the room or even across a field, and they come out of it without a single scratch on them. And I just felt that was a very small detail that got overlooked, and it really bothered me. So I think if you've read the book, you might have a better understanding of the story and maybe find some enjoyment by filling in the gaps with what you know from the novel. But on its own, the film failed to pique my interest, and I checked out early on in the movie. Among its flaws, that's what held it back for me, so I'm giving A Wrinkle in Time 2 out of 5 stars. So now it's your turn. If you saw A Wrinkle in Time, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to like and share it. And to stay up to date on all the videos going up on this channel, give the subscribe button a click. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.